I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Peace and safety to the hopefully elect, all the sincere Akim scattered throughout the four corners, pushing his word in sincerity and in truth. For those who don't know, Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai is the name of the only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is another edition of Drop the Mic, and this is Titus chapter 1 and verse 14, not giving heed to Jewish fables. And we all know what a fable is. As you can see on your screen here in the Strong's, it says fiction, a fable, an invention, a falsehood, basically a lie, a tale, a myth. And that's what you have being taught amongst the circumcision, a bunch of myths, and pushing it off as prophecy, as the word of the Lord. So I'm going to show you through this edition of Drop the Mic that some of those fables that's being taught amongst Israel. One of those fables would be dealing with the mark of the beast. And the Jewish fable is that is referring to a RFID microchip. But that's not biblical. It's not supported in the scriptures. It's basically an invention. It was brought in by the will of man. And basically a devil, a so-called white man, an Edomite, Terry Cook. And you have guys that's pushing that as the Lord's word. And we know, according to the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 31, we're commanded not to choose any of his ways. And that's including his philosophies. But you have guys believing in the globe theory, which is another Jewish fable, a myth, a lie. And it's not biblical. So what I want to do here is go into the book of Ezekiel. And the first fable that we're going to deal with is the globe theory. Alright, we all know when you look up the word NASA in the Hebrew, it says deceive. Alright, so NASA was set up by the so-called white man, the wicked, the devil. Alright, when you read the book of Revelation chapter 12, who was set up to deceive the whole world, and through NASA, that's how he was able to deceive the whole world into believing the globe theory and in planets. And you have guys amongst the circumcision that's basically teaching this doctrines of devils, all right, these fables, these myths, and pushing it as the Lord's word. So here in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1 and verse 26, and it says, this is going into the vision that Ezekiel received from on high. So this is Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 26. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness of the appearance of a man above upon it. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it, and the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward, I saw as it was the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about it. So this is the vision that the prophet Ezekiel received. As you can see here, it says, verse 1, now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 14th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Shadar, that the heavens was open, and I saw a vision of the power. All right, so I just read the vision in verse 26 and verse 27. Now let's get another precept. The prophet Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 22. All right, which he's gonna back up. This is a witness. All right, we know we're commanded to let every word be established out of the mouth of two or three witnesses, meaning precept must be upon precept. So we saw the vision that the prophet Ezekiel received. Now let's read the prophet Isaiah chapter 40 verse 22, and it reads, "It is he that sitteth above upon Salakia, upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretches out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in." All right, so that's that firmament. When you go back to the book of Genesis, to the creation, chapter 1, and I believe chapter 6, it said, "And the power said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Okay, so the firmament that's above was above their head in the book of Ezekiel. All right, only thing was above that firmament when Ezekiel received that vision was the Most High. All right, the throne of the Most High, not planets. All right, so now let's jump down to verse 14, and this is going to back up what we just read in Isaiah 40 and 22, referring to that tent. All right, so it says, "And the power said, Let there be lights in the firmament." All right, because everything that the Lord created, everything dwell in that tent. All right, and only thing above that tent, all right, is the Most High, Yahweh Shai, and the angels. All right, that will be that fire that Ezekiel saw around the throne. That will be those angels, man. Okay, so it says, "And the power said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and for years, and let them be for lights in the firmament." All right, remember Ezekiel was in the firmament. All right, and he got a vision. All right, and the doors of heaven was open, and he saw what was beyond the firmament, which was the throne of Yahweh. All right, Yahweh Shai, and the angels. That would be that fire that's around the throne. All right, and you can read about that in the book of Revelations, because John received the same vision, but John saw the vision even clearer because the Lord showed John the angels, and also the Lord sitting on the right hand side of the Heavenly Father. So it says, "And let them be for lights in the firmament." All right, that's that tent. All right, that everything that the Lord created dwell within. All right, so it says, "Of the heaven, and give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And we know that's referring to the sun and moon. And he made the stars also, and set them in the firmament, in that tent. All right, within the firmament. All right, that's where the creation dwell. All right, remember, the Most High sitteth above the circle. All right, and he looketh down upon the earth. I mean, the inhabitants of the earth as grasshoppers. All right, so according to NASA, we live on a globe. All right, that's spinning at 11,000 miles, and it rotates around the sun. But according to the creation, according to the beginning, according to the word of the Lord, the sun, the moon, the stars dwell within that firmament, man, along with us, the animals, the water, and the earth, everything that the Lord created. So that will be considered a Jewish fable, all right, that's taught amongst the circumcision, all right, as the word of the Lord. And we are commanded not to take heed unto those myths, man. All right, so now another uh, fable that's taught. Let's go back to the book of Titus. So it says, Titus 1 and 14, not giving heed to Jewish fables. All right, and we just showed you, according to the Bible, the globe theory is what it is, a theory, man. All right, planets don't exist. All right, there's no such thing as space. Only thing above the firmament, according to the prophet Isaiah and the prophet Ezekiel, and many more precepts to back that up. Many more witnesses to back that up. That the globe theory is a myth. All right, so it reads, and commandments of men that turn from the truth. All right, and some of those commandments of men is having these guys, all right, they follow us to teach these doctrines, man. All right, they're commanded by their elders, all right, by these wicked shepherds to teach these doctrines and push it as the Lord's word. All right, so another one of those Jewish fables I want to go into is Leviathan. And we know, according to Wikipedia, all right, and I showed you this in the previous lesson that I did on Leviathan. First of all, amongst the circumcision, amongst these wicked shepherds, is taught that Leviathan is referring to Puff the Magic Dragon. Basically, Godzilla, a fire-breathing dragon, which that's a fable, that's a tale, that's a myth, all right? That's mythology, man. That's mythical. It's not biblical. So this is Leviathan in the Wikipedia, and it says Leviathan is a creature which is formed of a sea monster from Jewish beliefs. All right, so it's not biblical. It's just a Jewish belief. All right, and it says, reference in the Hebrew Bible, it says Leviathan of the book of Job is a reflection of the older Canaanite Lotan, a prime evil monster. All right, so this is basically mythology, man. All right, this mythical creature, Leviathan, this fire-breathing dragon. All right, that's pushed. All right, amongst the circumcision. All right, by these wicked shepherds. All right, and they command the guys that follow them to teach this as the Lord's doctrine, as prophecy. All right, so now here in the blue letter, as you can see on your screen here, when you go to the root word in Job chapter 41, Leviathan, the root word would be H. Let's see here. This is the root word for Leviathan, and it's H3867. H3867. And as you can see on your screen here, it says lava. All right, so this is what it's referring to, not some fire-breathing mythical creature, man. All right, that live in the ocean. Okay, so as you can see on your screen here, it says lava. And the root, this is the root word for Leviathan, H3867. And in the blue letter says Leviathan. Now, I want to get a precept in the prophet Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 27 and verse 1. And show you that it's not referring to Godzilla, man. Okay? Remember, the Bible is written in dark sayings and parables, man. Okay? So it says, in that day, the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish. Now, in this verse, you have to look up this word punish. It says punish, to attend to muster. All right? To muster. All right? To appoint. It says to appoint, to assign, upon as a charge. Okay? It says to be appointed, to set over, to make overseer, to appoint an overseer, to commit, to deposit, all right, mustering. And here in the Strong's, it says to visit with friendly or hostile intent. All right, so that word punish is not referring to punish as we know it. All right, it means to appoint, to muster up. All right, so it says to muster, to charge, and do judgment, and basically that's the point. So it says, in that day the Lord with his sword and great strong sword shall attend. All right, shall attend, shall muster, shall charge Leviathan, the piercing serpent. All right, meaning the Lord is going to bring the fire and the brimstone. All right, and I'm going to show you the precepts on that. It says Leviathan, that piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. So now what I want to do here is read this in the NET, in another translation, and it says, at that time the Lord will punish with his destructive, great and powerful sword Leviathan, the fast-moving serpent. Leviathan, the squirmy serpent, he will kill the sea monster. All right, so basically the Lord is going to punish the heathen with this fire and this brimstone, man, with this lava. All right, which is the Lord's wrath, man. All right, so it says, in that day the Lord with his sword and great and strong sword shall punish. You know this word punish, meaning to attend to appoint, to muster, to charge Leviathan, to appoint Leviathan, man, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan. Okay, when you look up Leviathan, you can see Leviathan, sea monster, dragon. All right, and as you can see, the origin is H3867, which is lava. Okay, this is what it's referring to. All right, that's the Lord's wrath that the Lord is referring to as his sword and great and strong sword. Okay, and that dragon is referring to, we all know when you read the book of Revelations, all right, that beast, all right, that dragon that's referred to in Revelations chapter 12, that Michael and his angels going to fight against the dragon and his angels. All right, and what they're going to fight with is the elements, man. All right, not weapons like guns and missiles. All right, they're going to fight with the elements like the Lord always have done. All right, remember those four sword judgments. All right, that's what they're set up to do. All right, to bring judgment. All right, so let's get a precept and show you what this is referring to. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 11 and 6. And it says, upon the wicked, which will be that dragon. All right, that's the wicked. All right, he shall rain snares, fire, and brimstone. All right, so this is the Lord's wrath that he's going to use. All right, that sword, great and powerful sword that the Lord is going to use upon the wicked and a horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup. Not a fire-breathing dragon, man. All right, remember the book of Luke. Let's get that right quick. Luke chapter 17 and verse 28. And it says, likewise, in which that likewise meaning in the same way. All right, let's look it up. Likewise meaning equally, in the same way. All right, so in the same way also as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus, meaning the same way, shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. All right, so it's this Leviathan uh, being a fire-breathing dragon, right, is a Jewish fable, man, and it's just a flat-out lie. All right, the Lord is gonna bring His wrath like He always did, going back to the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, using that fire and that brimstone. All right, which includes the lava. All right, and that Leviathan. All right, that cricket serpent, meaning that torturous serpent. All right, so let's go back. Let's go back and let's get another precept in 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse 16. It says, "For we have not," and the "we" is referring to the Israel of God, man. All right, the elect. All right. So it says, "For we have not followed cunning, devised fables." All right, because a lot of these doctrines is set up by the so-called white man to make Israel go off, and you have Negroes, all right, wicked shepherds, false prophets, all right, that the Lord didn't reveal His mysteries to, but they take it upon themselves, all right, to learn these doctrines from the so-called white man and push it off to the people as the Lord's word, man. All right, that's proof that Elder Tahar is a complete fraud, man. He's a complete fraud. Every prophecy that this guy teach, you can go and find it being taught by the so-called white man. This is where he get these wayward doctrines from, man. These wicked ass doctrines from. These Jewish fables, man. Basically, this is where he get it from. All right, the so-called white man. So it says, "For we have not followed cunning devised fables." All right, those myths. All right, I showed you that Leviathan is not referring to, all right, a dragon, man. So that sword and great and powerful sword is not referring to a fire-breathing dragon. All right, that's the brimstone, the fire and the brimstone that the Lord is going to rain upon the wicked. Okay, that's what it's referring to. So it says, "For we have not followed cunning devised fables," meaning lies, "when we made known unto you the power and the coming of our Lord Yahushua Mashiach, but we're eyewitnesses of His majesty." All right, so let me get go into another one of those myths. All right, that's being taught amongst the circumcision. All right, by these wicked ass shepherds. All right, these zombies. All right, that follow these wicked shepherds. Okay, another one of these Jewish Fables, all right, from Terry Cook, which is an Edomite, which is pushed amongst the circumcision, this mark of the beast doctrine, in Revelations chapter 13 and verse 16. And it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark, in their right hand or in their forehead. Now this right hand and this forehead is not referring to your literal right hand or your literal forehead. Alright? It's parabolic. Alright? Your right hand is referring to the works of your hands. And your forehead is referring to your thoughts, man. Okay? So it says to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. And when you look up this word mark, as you can see on your screen, it says charagma. And we did many videos going into this subject, alright, showing you that the mark is referring to money, alright? This money, man, the so-called white man currency. That's your mark, right? Not a RFID microchip. It's not biblical, alright? It's not biblical. Like I showed you, dealing with Leviathan, alright? Gave you the precepts, alright? We looked up the words, alright? And showed you what it was referring to, not through the so-called white man articles, history books, philosophies, alright? So that's basically choosing the ways of the wicked. So it says, this is the definition for the word mark. And as you can see on your screen, it says a stamp, alright? A stamp, an imprinted mark, an imprinted mark. It says the mark branded on horses. It says thing carved, sculpture, graven work of idolatrous image. Here in the Strong's it says sketch or etching. And we know to sketch or to etch is meaning to write. Alright? To subscribe. Alright? So it says that is stamp. Alright? Stamp. Graven mark. Alright? So this is the definition for the word mark. Now, let's get a precept. Let's get a precept. And let's see here. Well, I can't get it because I'm in airplane mode. But in 1 Maccabees, chapter 15 and verse 6, it talks about that stamp, and it's referring to that stamp as money. Okay, that stamp, that inscription on the money. That's what it's referring to, not a RFID microchip. Let's see here. As you can see on your screen, this is the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Alright? And it says, as its primary function, the BEP, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, the same words used referring to the mark. Alright? And we also have 1 Maccabees, chapter 15 and verse 6. Alright? So it says, as its primary function, the BEP prints billions of dollars, referred to as the Federal Reserve note, each year for delivery to the Federal Reserve System. Alright? And this is the BEP, which is the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Okay? So, when you go back to the book of Revelations and you look up this word mark, as you can see, a stamp, and you can read about that stamp in the Apocrypha, First Maccabees, chapter 15, verse 6. Also, an imprinted mark. All right, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Engraving and printing. It says thing carved. All right, thing carved. A sketch or etching. A sketch or etching. Graving mark. Now, I'm going to get a precept. Salakia. The book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 19. And it says, show me the tribute money. And he brought unto him a penny. And he saith unto them, who is this image and superscription? So now, I want to look up this superscription. And as you can see, it says an inscription title of an inscription on a coin. It says inscription, but when you look up the origin of that word, it says to write upon. All right, sketching or etching, man. To write upon, to inscribe. Metaphorically, to write upon the mind. All right, and that's that forehead. It says inscription. Write in, over thereon. Okay, so this is what it's referring to when it talks about the mark. All right, whatever they deem to be money with their inscription on it, whether it's silver, gold, copper, whatever they deem the beast, all right, deems to be money, and he put his stamp, his engraven image, his superscription, his image on, all right, that will be considered the mark of the beast, all right. And you have in this kingdom, in this current kingdom, people selling their soul for the money, man, and that will be your works of your hands. That will be considered your right hand or your forehead, man. Okay, not a literal brain surgery and a microchip being inserted into your brain or into your hand, man. All right, that's a Jewish fable, man. All right, that's an invention that was brought in by the will of men, and the majority of those doctrines come from the so-called white man, who these guys claim that they hate so much. All right, so going back to the book of Titus, the book of Titus, chapter 1 and verse 14, and it says, not giving heed to Jewish fables. All right, so you don't even supposed to give heed to that madness, man, that globe theory, that Leviathan, all right, that missile doctrine, okay, you know, this 12 tribes chart, all right, which that was brought in by the will of man. That's another invention that was brought in by Arya, another one of those wicked shepherds, man, okay. So it says, giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men. And basically these zombies are commanded to take this 12 tribes chart, which is a private interpretation of Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel chapter 37, which is referring to the elect, is parabolic, referring to the elect. But like I said, these zombies are commanded to push this as a prophecy, man. All right. So let me get it right quick for you. This is another one of those fables, man. All right. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37 and 15, and it says, the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick. Now, according to the One West doctrine, All right, the stick is referring to a plank of wood that you see in front of the camps. With the private interpretation of Genesis chapter 49, dealing with the 12 tribes being so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, when we know according to the scriptures, the prophet Isaiah, um, according to prophecy, going back into the history, that Israel was scattered to the four corners, and dealing with the words of our Lord himself in the book of Matthew chapter 24 verse 31, the Lord says he's going to deliver his elect from the four corners of the earth, man, not just in America and South and Central America. All right, so according to the One West doctrine, this stick is referring to that plank of wood that you see the 12 tribes written upon. So now I'm going to look up this word sticks in the Strongs, and as you can see, it's H6086, and it says tree, wood, timber, stock, plank, stick, gallows, and this is what these guys use, this word plank. All right. It says wood, plural, sticks, carpenter. All right. So now what I want to do is look up, get another precept in the book of Psalms, chapter 1 and verse 3. And it says, and he shall be like a tree. And as you can see, that same word, H6086, is used referring to men, all right, as trees. All right, so that will be your sticks in the book of Ezekiel chapter 37. All right, not a plank of wood, man. All right, not an idol. All right, a fable, a lie, fiction, a tale, a myth. Basically, an invention that was brought in by the will of man, and that man will be Ariyah, and is pushed by these wicked shepherds as the Lord's doctrine, man, and it's not biblical. Okay, so it says, and he shall be like a tree, H6086, referring to people, all right, planted by the rivers of the water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper, referring to men. When you go back to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 16, it says, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it. All right, now we know that that stick is referring to men. It's parabolic, referring to men. Those trees that's planted by the river in the book of Psalms. So now, when it refers to those sticks being written upon, let me get a precept and show you what it's referring to. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 14 and verse 1. And it says, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their forehead. So that's what it's referring to in the book of Ezekiel, when it refers to the sticks, and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. And take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. And that's referring to the elect. When it says all the house of Israel, is referring to the elect. That 144,000 that we just read in Revelation 14 and 1, that has the Father's name written in their forehead. All right. So this is what it's referring to in the book of Ezekiel, and not a 12 tribes chart. Okay. So that's just another one of those Jewish lies, man, that's taught amongst the circumcision. All right. The wicked shepherds, all right, of Israel, all the alphabet camps. All right. But you have another lie, Jewish lie, that's taught. Um, Going into the smith. And this is the prophet Isaiah, chapter 54, and verse 16. And according to the one west, all right, to the false prophets of Israel, this smith in verse 16 is referring to the so-called white man scientist manufacturing nuclear weapons. All right. So I'm gonna read it and show you what it's referring to. All right. It says, this is Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 16. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coal in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy." Now, that smith is referring to Yahweh Shai, and I'm going to show you that through the precepts. All right. This is let's get Zechariah. Get the book of Zechariah, chapter 13 and verse 8. And it says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I," referring to the Lord, "and I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined." All right, so that's the Lord basically being referred to as the smith, man. All right, this is an example of the Lord performing that act in Ezekiel chapter 54 verse 16. All right, this is the example of the Lord bringing Israel, the third part, through the fire, "and I will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them," referring to the elect, the house of Israel. "I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my power." So now let's get another example of the Lord being the smith. This is the book of Malachi. The book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 2. And it says, "But who may abide the day of his coming?" referring to Yahweh Shai. "And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier," as a smith, man. Okay? The Lord himself. This is an example of the Lord himself being referred to as the smith, man. Not the so-called white man. All right? So it says, "And he shall purify the son of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver." Just like we read in the book of Zechariah, man. Okay? So this is what it's referring to in the book of Isaiah when it refers to the smith. All right? And we know that instrument that the Lord is going to bring forth is referring to the elect, the 144,000. All right? And you read the book of Isaiah chapter 41 and verse, let's see here, chapter 41 and verse 15. It says, "Behold, I, the smith, the refiner, the purifier, the Lord, Yahweh Shai, will make thee a new sharp thrashing instrument having teeth." All right? "Thou shalt thrash the mountains," and the mountains is referring to the other governments of the heathens. All right? "And beat them small, and shall make the hills as chaff." All right? So the elect will be that instrument. Okay? So that's just more of those Jewish fables, man. All right, that these guys teach, man. Those tales, all right, that fiction, man. Okay. So I hope you brothers was edified. And until the next time, Shalom.